This episode of WDW Today is being sponsored by All Star Vacation Homes. And on your next trip to Walt Disney World, when you're considering where you're going to stay and you think, you know what, we could probably stay in a small, cramped room for a week, you might want to reconsider that. Think of this. Picture you in your own floaty in the middle of your own private pool, sipping a drink while the kids play in the game room and your wife cooks in a beautiful, full kitchen while you enjoy and go, this is living. Well, that's how you can enjoy Walt Disney World when you're not in Walt Disney World. And All-Star Vacation Homes offer you those wonderful amenities for you and everyone in your family. Lots of space for everyone. Check them out. Visit them online at www.allstarvacationhomes.com.
This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Friday, August 7th, 2009, and this is episode 601 of WDW Today. I am Matt Hodgeberg of StudioCentral.com. Joining me on today's show is Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. And Mike, did you feel my ad read before was a little chauvinistic?
Yeah, just a little bit. See, the wife should have been in the either in the game room or in the movie theater, stretched out, watching a good movie.
That's right. Okay. Well, I guess I was channeling too much Gaston, not enough Mulan, I guess.
I think you were channeling too much 1950s is what you were channeling.
1950s. I did eat at the Primetime Cafe, so maybe that's what's getting to me.
Okay. Then you're forgiven.
Thank you. Also joining me on... Yeah, Danielle DeSerbo, please don't email. Also joining us on today's show is Mike Scopa, a senior feature writer and blogger for allears.net. Welcome, Mike.
Matt, we're doing research on deodorant strength.
Muppets.
Oh, that would be Muppets.
There would be Muppets.
Very good. Also joining us on today's show, back from the beach, actually many beaches, in fact, is the fabulous Annette Owens of Emulite Mouse Fan Travel, who's a manager of customer relations and group services. Welcome, Annette.
Yeah, it was only one beach. I'm not sure. And I'm sorry. It should be the husband in the kitchen and the wife's in the bed waiting on breakfast in bed.
See, I knew you would get it going. I knew it. I knew it. I cringed when you did that ad read. I knew that was going to happen.
It's good not to be the host.
Matt at WDWtoday.com for all inquiries.
Actually, I changed my email. It's actually...
no, it's not.
No.
And also joining us on today's show is Mr. Voice himself, Rick Gregg, who can be found on Twitter at Rick Gregg. Also, you can hear him online, or actually on your radio, on your XM radio, channel 215, if you want to hear Chicago traffic, noon to 3 in the east. Welcome to the show, Rick.
Actually, it's noon to 3 in the central. It's 1 to 4 out east.
Who writes this stuff?
I don't know. But thank you very much. I'm happy to be here for the next century of podcasts, because this is 601, right?
601, yeah, you just made it.
All right, well.
All right, and if you have no idea
late.
And of course, if you have no idea who Mr. Voice is, I'll direct you to the WDW Today wiki and look at the inside jokes page over there for Mr. Voice, and you'll have a whole explanation of everything about him.
He's an inside joke.
That sounds bad.
Unfortunately, my wife says the same thing.
Well, on today's show, we brought Rick on because Rick, you just came back from a trip to Walt Disney World. Actually, I wanted to share some things that happened to you. Report back as to some things that you tried, some things, conclusions that you drew from your trip. So, Rick, I'm going to turn this over to you here and take us away.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, and thanks for having me on. It was the Voices go to Disney World. We were there for a week. It was myself, Mrs. Voice, and the Voice-in-laws, her parents.
What do you call the kids? The voicettes?
We don't have any yet, but I'll take solicitations, I guess, or suggestions. That's a better word.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that came out a little weird. We'll just pass on that. I do this for a living, by the way. Anyway, we were there from July 18th to July 25th, so that was Saturday to Saturday, and we stayed in 3 hotels. We were at Scopa Towers for one night, and then we were at Old Key West, actually for the rest of the time, but we had a 2-bedroom. We're DVC members. We had a 2-bedroom for the Sunday through Friday morning, and then Friday morning we moved to a 1-bedroom for the last night.
So, have you stayed at Old Key West before?
We have stayed at Mrs. Voice and I had stayed at Old Key West in a studio once. Her parents had never been there, and they were very, very impressed.
Okay.
Especially with the space. I mean, those 2 bedrooms, it's 1,300 plus square feet. The 2-bedroom is larger than a 3-bedroom at the Treehouse Villas. I mean, you just have all kinds of room there. So we really appreciated the 2-bedroom at Old Key West quite a bit.
Absolutely.
So easy to travel with the in-laws then?
Well,
okay, never mind.
No, I'll say the same thing I've told everybody else, which is my in-laws are good people. But I think that for anybody, no matter who your in-laws are, after about a week, that's about as much time as you want to spend with your in-laws, no matter how wonderful they are. And we were about to that end, and so it was a good trip length. Let's just say that. And my wife is sitting in front of me and giving me dirty looks right now, so I'm going to be in trouble. So anyway, back to the room at Old Key, the check-in. Excuse me. We checked in at Pop once. We checked in at Old Key West twice. We used the online check-in service.
I was going to ask you about that. How'd that work out for you?
Very well, and I know that they say that the checking in online doesn't guarantee you'll have your room early.
Uh-huh.
Our 2-bedroom at Old Key West was ready at 9 a.m.
Okay.
Nice.
So, yeah, that worked out well. We had absolutely no problem with at Pop Century checking in. Even got a pool view, even though we didn't ask for one, and that was fine.
Huh.
And so, yeah, the online check-in process was very good. The 2-bedroom at Old Key West was excellent. The 1-bedroom, not so much. First of all, Mrs. Boyce and I slept on the pull-out couch, and I would not wish that on my worst enemy.
Whew.
Yeah,
It was not good.
It's
That
funny.
Took
bar-
one for the team, did you?
Well, somebody had to, I guess, because we weren't going to share the big bed with the with
Yeah.
the in-laws.
It'd be like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the old one, the original one from the.
Yes, exactly. I'd have to jump out of bed and do a little jig because I was going over to see Willy Wonka. Yeah. Anyway, so that was a problem. It was a very uncomfortable night of sleep. But before that, we got stuck in our room.
Really?
Yeah.
What you talking about, Willis?
And so you park, you check in, you park, you move all your suitcases into the room, and then the in-laws went to go find the near quiet pool, and they came back, and then now they're going to go to the pool. So they go out to the front door. They're in the hotel room, and we can't open it. What had happened, apparently, I know, I didn't believe it either. What had apparently happened was something in the door had fallen down inside the door, and the door was getting caught on that, I don't know what to call it, that mat that they have right there between the outside and the inside. You know how it's got those lines? It's I don't know, serrated or whatever the word is.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
We couldn't get the door open. We couldn't even put a hand through the door. It wouldn't come through. So we call housekeeping, and out comes Foreman Norm, who was Norm was a great guy, but he finally forces the door open, but then says, I don't have the tools to fix it, so I'm going to send somebody else by. We waited an hour and a half and didn't see anybody, and it was starting to get a little worrisome. Meanwhile, the in-laws decided they're going to the pool anyway. They went out and climbed over the porch at Old Key West. We were on the first floor, so they climbed
Thank heavens. Oh, my gosh.
And here's a tip. The outside the grass is actually lower than the floor of the patio, if that makes sense.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. So my poor mother-in-law came home with bruises up and down her left arm from where she fell.
Oh,
Well, it could have been worse. You could have been driving cross country with your in-laws, and one of them dies on the way, so you strap him to the roof of your car.
Where did that come from?
Vacation.
Vacation,
Yeah.
vacation. Come on.
I know, but no, I knew that. But
yeah, good
All
God.
things considered, she came out pretty well, I'd say.
Yes, she survived the vacation.
Yes.
Anyway, so the point is, eventually we called back and said, look, we've got dinner reservations, we have to go. And they said, well, you can close the door, right? Well, yeah, we just can't reopen it. They said, close it and we'll send somebody in through the back. So then one of their technicians, while we were away at dinner, had to climb over the railing and
He broke in.
break his way in. Yeah, so fortunately nothing got taken. But that was fine. We had an enjoyable trip. No problems with the rooms at all other than that. So that was good.
So now,
Yeah.
Rick, let me ask you a quick question. When did you check in? How long before your actual check-in did you check in online for the online check-in?
10 days.
Okay.
10 days ahead of time. I mean, give or take a few hours.
Okay, so that's good. Good to know. Cool. Keep
Yeah,
going.
it just makes sense to do it that way. And we were able to breeze past lines, especially at Pop Century. There was a line of about 10 to 12 people, as you might expect, in the middle of the afternoon on a Saturday.
Yeah, the line there for check-in is brutal.
Yeah, but there was no line for the online check-in. Although, you know what else there wasn't? There wasn't a sign with the words online check-in. They've got that logo for it, which is like a square box and then a check mark in it. That's the only thing that we saw at Pop Century. So look for that. It was hanging above the counter.
Cool.
So
oh,
there's that.
that's a good tip.
All right, where do you want to go next? Anybody? I can keep going here.
Yeah. What did you try anything new this trip, Rick?
Did we try it? Well, see, here the fun part was We tried some new stuff this trip, but more new for the in-laws because they hadn't been to the world in 9 years.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of things had changed. Plus, they stayed at the contemporary ones, but otherwise they had been value/Caribbean beach resort people. So a lot of this was new for them, and it was fun to watch them experience certain things. I'll give you an example. The first night of the trip, we went to Whispering Canyon over at the Wilderness Lodge. They'd never seen the Wilderness Lodge, so of course you get the oohs, you get the ahs, etc.
Uh-huh.
We go in and we sit down, and all of a sudden my mother-in-law gets sticker shock when she looks at the menu. Now understand, we planned this with them. We had sent them all of the menus. We'd chosen the restaurants together. They knew what to expect.
Right.
But sticker shock is what it is. So my mother-in-law is saying, "Boy, these entrees are the entrees big enough for us to split them both? To split one of them and maybe have a salad too? I don't know that I want to do all this." This is at Whispering Canyon, mind you. And I look over at my father-in-law, and he looks like a 7-year-old kid who just had his toy bicycle taken away from him. He's so sad because it's all he can do to say, "I want the barbecue." How hard is this? So finally we convinced my mother-in-law that really you should do the skillet. My father-in-law didn't say a word through dinner. He didn't even look up. I think the guy ate twice his body weight. He just scarfed it all down. So,
Oh my gosh.
that was
Best
fun.
food ever. I love
Oh,
this place.
it's excellent.
It is
Oh,
good,
it's
yeah.
Let me ask you this,
Yeah.
Greg. You're traveling with your in-laws, and it's safe to say that your in-laws are like above 55 years old.
Yes.
Okay. Did you was that a challenge for you in any way? I mean, in terms of, some people, when they go with senior citizens to Walt Disney World, it can be kind of a challenge because, you have to, obviously they're not running marathons by any means. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I completely understand. And there's a little bit of that. I walk faster than they do. But I got to say I prepared myself for this one. I was determined to take everything slow. I did what I could. When it was time to go get fast passes, I would go ahead and get fast passes and then meet them someplace else, or they would come and catch up or whatever. And my wife would stay with them and walk at their pace. Her mother could keep up with us pretty well. Her father's had a couple of health issues, nothing serious. He just moves a bit slower than any of the other members of our party, but we had a week. It was a vacation. It was incredibly relaxed. And here's the thing. We had a plan. And, I'm a big touring plans guy, as you guys are. I'm a big unofficial guide guy. There we are. There's the ding. and so we had a plan, and we talked about this all ahead of time. And I know that some people aren't as in depth into the planning as we are, or as you are, as others are. When my parents went down with my sister-in-law, who'd never really been there in the past, and her kids, they're not planning people. I told my mom, I said, just make sure you sit down the night before and pick out the first 4 things you're going to do. We're going to do A, B, C, and D. And after that, you'll feel like you got something done no matter what. And if the plans don't work out, or if you have to move slower for whatever reason, you can do that. And you can handle that even if you're a commando tourist like I can sometimes be. So that's how that worked out pretty well, as a matter of fact.
Okay, so you didn't have any issues. I mean, you guys pretty much stayed together the whole trip.
Yeah, we stayed together for almost the entire time. The only time we were separated was they went back to the hotel. We were at Pleasure Island, what remains of Pleasure Island. It's depressing. I'm telling you, it depresses me. Pleasure Island, you walk through there, and you see where Motion used to be and where the Rock and Roll Beach Club used to be and the Adventurers Club. The building's still there. The Comedy Warehouse is still there. And it's depressing. I have good memories from there. And so that was a little sad. We did try Paradiso 37, though.
How did you like that?
We did not have food there. My wife and I just had drinks at the back bar. This is the one time we separated, really, from her parents. And the waitress, the bartender, rather, was incredibly nice. We had a good time back there. And I'll tell you a quick story that still has me befuddled. We're there at the bar, and we're drinking, and the bartender, pours a drink for a waiter or waitress. It was a glass of wine, and then I don't know what happened, but that glass of wine never got claimed. So she turns to us and says, "Do you want it?" Because she's going to have to throw it away anyway. And we said, "Sure." And okay, fine. So we got a free glass of wine. All right, a little while later, we're ready to go. We're done. We're closing out our tab, and her boss comes over and berates her about something. And I don't understand. I don't know what it is. Our only guess is that maybe he saw her give her the free glass of wine, and he's going to make her charge us for it. and
Right.
whatever. I'm not going to get this girl in trouble. So he asks me, her boss asks me, this is after we've paid, for my credit card again. And I said, "Ooh, okay, why?" And he said, "Well, we're only going to charge you once. I just have to make a correction to the bill. It's not a big deal. You'll be fine." Okay, fine. As long as it's only going to show up once, I don't mind. So I give him the card. He gives me a new bill. The first bill from the bartender had been itemized, so I'd seen all the drinks and I know everything was there. The bill from him was not, and it was also $6 cheaper.
Huh.
So he chewed her out in front of guests and then cost the restaurant $6. I don't understand that at all.
Interesting.
I don't understand it at
Wow.
all. But we had a good time there. Let's see. Restaurants. I got a list here. Winners Restaurants, the winning restaurants. Whispering Canyon was good. They loved the sci-fi. I like the sci-fi too. It's just the atmosphere. I know the food's not great, but you stick with the burger, you're fine. Ohana's was a huge winner. The noodles were tremendous. We hadn't had those before because it used to be the potatoes, of course. And the bread pudding was very, very good. We ate at Olivia's and enjoyed that. We ate at Wolfgang Puck's and enjoyed that. Although if you get the calamari, ask him to bring you some ketchup or something because the sauce is awful. The Wave was good. We ate at Earl of Sandwich for the first time. That was a very welcome surprise for us.
Yeah, I love Earl sandwich. It's great.
That was actually the second longest food line that we waited in on the entire trip, the longest being at the Electric Umbrella in Epcot, and I will get to that in a moment. But anyway, on the loser's side, all right, I have to tell this story because I have never been so disappointed and frankly angry about a meal as I was at the Grand Floridian Cafe. We have eaten there in the past. We have lunched there once a trip because we like the Grand Sandwich, and it's a nice respite away from the parks. We went this time. It's the four of us, and nobody's really hungry. So we decide we're going to split sandwiches. They're going to split a sandwich. We're going to split a sandwich. And, the restaurant is empty. I counted 18 to 20 empty tables. And we had a reservation. There's nobody waiting out front. All right. Waitress comes over, gets our drink orders, very nice woman, walks away, brings back the drinks, takes our food orders, and when I say we're going to split a sandwich, she laughed at us.
Like, in what way? Like, what, at you?
An audible laugh, yes. To the point where I jerked my head up. I thought another waiter had fallen or something. And I'd missed a joke or something like that.
Right.
I was incredibly offended. Incredibly so. And the worst part is, the waiter that we had last year, who was an absolute delight, walked past our table like 4 times. I mean, he still works there. It was very upsetting because I know it's the Grand Floridian, but for heaven's sake, there's nobody waiting in line. Just do your job.
Right.
So we were not at all happy about any of that.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah,
I got to agree with you, Rick. I had gone there one time because they had closed down 1900 Park Fair, so they had moved everybody over to the Grand Floridian Cafe. I figured, well, it's still Grand Floridian, it should be okay. And I was also disappointed, so I'm glad that someone else has spoken up on that. I didn't want to be the only person who said something negative about that particular restaurant.
And the food is fine. I don't have a problem with the food, but the service, I mean, it's still a hotel restaurant, right? I didn't wander into Victoria and Albert's by accident. I just don't think I needed to be laughed at, that's all. Also, the other loser that we ate at was at the ESPN Club, and the only reason that was a loser was because the service was incredibly slow.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to give them a pass this time because I'm not sure. But we switched waitresses in the middle of the meal. I think one of them had to go home for an emergency, so I'll give them a little bit of help on that one. But so that's that. We also ate at the Hollywood and Vine Buffet, your favorite restaurant, Matt, because we had the Fantasmic package, your favorite package.
Your favorite.
Matt. Here's the thing: it's now a necessary evil. It really is. And the food's not great. The food's just there. But that night at 7:50, Fantasmic's at 9. At 7:50, we are walking down Sunset Boulevard, and the cast members are all standing there saying Fantasmic is standing room only. This is an hour, 10 minutes before the show. So we get up there and we can get a seat, but it's the only way you can get a seat with the new Fantasmic schedule. Even though there were 2 shows that night, You got to either go to the late one or you have to get the package at this point, or you have to be willing to waste an hour and 45 minutes.
We should always go to the second one. That's why you don't need the package. Especially you don't have kids, so it's not like you have to,
But I do have senior citizens who go to sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, it's not just kids; it's older people. It's if you've been up since the beginning of the day, and it's not
Running
like you have a
around.
choice. Yeah, and you don't have a choice of which day to go. Disney basically dictates it to you.
Well, this is all the more reason why they need to bring Fantasmic back to being every night, because it's ridiculous. It creates it's totally inconvenient for everyone now, and you have to suffer with bad seats.
Absolutely. Well, I
No seats, it sounds like, if it was standing room only.
Yeah, and it was standing room only, and I would rather have a bad seat than no seat at all, and we had to eat there anyway, so.
Right.
Anyway, there's that. The other thing that we did that was new, we did the Wishes dessert package. The Wishes dessert package is fantastic. It is excellent. It is wonderful. It is worth the money. We all had an absolute blast at the Wishes dessert party. So I strongly recommend that to anyone. And this is even though we watched a fight happen at the Wishes dessert party. Almost a fist fight, in fact.
Wow, what did Newell do?
They charge you extra for that, Rick?
No, they didn't.
Okay,
charge
was there
us
one
for
cookie
that.
on the plate? What happened?
Well, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to do it yet, but what happens is it's at the Tomorrowland Terrace there in the area, and each table is reserved for your party. It's all reserved seating. It's not just show up and sit wherever you want. So we sit down in our place, and about 2 tables over, we're watching 2 tables over because it's in our direct line of sight to the buffet. And one of the tables is empty, and there are a couple of people at the other table, which is slightly behind it. The people at the other table slightly behind it move forward to the other family's table. Now, I thought that the cast members had said that they could do it. My wife said she did not see that happen, so I'm not going to pass judgment on that. What did happen is the family in the front had been up at the dessert line, and they came back, and the father was angry, using words that I don't think should be used in the Magic Kingdom,
In front of his
especially in front of his kids, in front of the 6-year-old who was celebrating his birthday at the table in front of us. Now, the cast members were very professional, were able to sort it all back out, but as one of the people who had moved tables, I heard her say, and she's absolutely right, it's just a table. And the point is, you can't see the fireworks from the tables. Everybody gets up and walks to the railings to see the fireworks. We have a beautiful, unobstructed view. So while they were in the wrong, he completely took it out of proportion. And I hadn't seen anything like that in the parks. I really hadn't in my time. I'm sure you guys have seen fights there before, but it was something else. There was quite a fight going on. So
Wow.
that was interesting. But I definitely, even without the added entertainment, I definitely would push that. I have a question for you guys about the Magic Kingdom, by the way.
Yes.
Would somebody please explain to me why Splash Mountain is never open at park opening?
I can tell you, I had a friend who worked at Splash Mountain, and it depends upon when they get there to operate it, Rick. They need to start the flume. They need to let the flume run for a while to make sure that all the water's, everything's working well. It's one of those attractions that any attraction that's involved with water is high maintenance. And then what they do is then they start putting the logs down there, empty, make sure that they're okay, make sure all the friction points are okay. And then the cast members start riding them. And so it takes about, from what I understand, from the moment they get there, it takes 90 minutes to get that attraction running. So it's possible that when the park opens that they just haven't had personnel there to do the safety checks. They check everything in the morning. It takes about 90 minutes for them to check Splash Mountain. So that could be the case where that particular day, for some reason, they weren't there early enough to start the testing. That's what I'm guessing.
I understand that, but I have a problem with it because I understand that it takes 90 days, but obviously, or 90 minutes. Disney knows it takes 90 minutes.
I know. I agree. Then
Get the
there
cast
at
members
7.
there,
Yeah.
especially with Space Mountain down for construction. So now you've got 2 of the park's headliners not open
Right.
at park opening. So that was a little disappointing. But another, and really, I keep saying disappointing. We did have a good trip. I don't want anybody to think we're not going back. You just notice the things that stick out. Haunted Mansion. We're there one evening. We go into the Haunted Mansion. We walk right into the library. We walk right into the stretching room. And then the narration begins. But the cast members did not close the door from the library to the stretching room. And then
Really?
the stretching room started to stretch. And guess what? The illusion doesn't work when you can see what's going on outside that door. So that was a disappointment.
That was a big oops.
You got one last thing for us here, Rick?
Oh, I've got all kinds of stuff, but sure, one last thing for you, not a problem. I guess let me do two real quick things, Matt. The first is I cannot endorse. I've done this before. I cannot endorse the single lines for Rock and Roller Coaster or Expedition Everest enough. I really can't. It took me a total of 12 minutes to go from the picture place at Tower of Terror through the ride at Rock and Roller Coaster. At a time when there was a 45-minute wait in the standby line.
Wow.
Definitely want to do that. And then the other thing is, back to Twitter real quick, because, if I can get another plug-in for myself, I will. I used Twitter for the first time, really, to tweet out notes and memories for myself for my trip report. So I can go and write the trip report now. I never would have been able to do it before, but it beat having pencil and paper there to scribble stuff down, because you can just go back and see how you felt at real time at certain places. So I thought that was a really good tip for any trip report writers out there. Definitely check it out. Even if you're not a Twitter user, if nothing else, it's a live journal for yourself, and you can go back and use it. So we did have a good time, and I appreciate you guys letting me come on to rant about a little bit and to talk about a little bit.
That's great. And don't forget, of course, Rick's Twitter is Rick Gregg. And
RickGregg, all one word.
And if you got XM Radio, you can listen to him on channel 215. He does the traffic there for Chicago.
And do the
from
plugs,
noon
Rick.
to 3.
Do the plugs.
Noon to 3 in the central time zone over there. So, Rick, always a pleasure to have you on, and certainly we appreciate all that you do for the podcast.
Well, not a problem. And Mike's saying do the plug. So, okay, real quickly. If you live in Milwaukee, you can hear me do traffic on WTMJ from 9 a.m. until 2:30. If you're in the Twin Cities, you can hear me do news on a couple of stations there, smaller stations, KTNF and WWTC. And if you live in St. Louis, you can hear me do sports on KSLG at the bottom of every hour, 9 to 5, I think. 9 to 6, actually.
Wow.
There you go.
Show off.
I know.
And
Serious traffic.
And
you can also hear me do all the liners and all of the plugs on Mouse World Radio, the #1 internet radio station.
there you go.
Opinion.
Hey, you get a bell.
All right.
I think that was the only plug Mike was after, but okay.
Very nice.
He said plugs with an S, just like Matt says All-Star Vacation Homes.
Homes.com.
It's funny you mentioned All-Star Vacation Homes, because they're sponsoring today's episode, and guess what? You don't get locked out of your room at All-Star Vacation Homes, because they're all brand new houses over there. I mean, they're wonderful, great upkeep, lots of great things over there, great amenities. So why not consider on your next vacation to Walt Disney World a stay at an All-Star Vacation Home? Visit them online at www.allstarvacationhomes.com.
.com.
If you want to find our older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, visit the WDW Today website at wdwtoday.com. For Len Testa, Mike Scopa, Mike Newell, the fabulous Annette Owens, and Mr. Voice, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.
Stupid Judy, stupid energy.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio.